I remember the first time I was ever catcalled. It was the summer after junior year, and I had just spent the day with my friends shopping and eating at downtown Durham. And we were heading back. So we were heading back to our school. So we were getting on a bus there. And I was the last person to walk up the bus with my friends. And as I walked up the bus, I remember hearing this distinct whistle, this kind of very typical catcall whistle. And I remember my heart dropping in my chest. Because for the first time, I felt like a piece of meat. This piece of meat that was on display for everyone to see and judge and look at. Because that catcaller, he put all this attention on the parts of me that are often deemed sexy or sexual. I felt like nothing more than a nice rack or nice ass. I felt almost violated. Growing up, I wasn't really allowed to wear, revealing clothing. So that would be like, short shorts, skirts, tight dresses, cleavage-bearing tops, something like that. And I knew that if I walked down the stairs, my parents would send me right back up to change. And I used to not understand why. When I was younger, it was what everyone was wearing. It was comfortable, it was cute, it was trendy. All my friends wore it. But after that incident, I finally understood why they didn't allow me to wear it. Because they knew as soon as I stepped out that door and stepped into a public space with people, they knew that people's attention would automatically gravitate towards, as I said earlier, the sexy parts of me, my breasts, the curves of my body, my bottom. And they knew it would hone on those parts and would bring attention to it. And they knew that I would be sexualized. Sadly, this is an issue everywhere, anywhere in a woman's life. Take going to the mall, just buying clothes. You look on the walls of the store, and you see these huge posters of women. They're advertising the clothes, but on these posters, there's so much more. On these posters, you can see, oftentimes, same thing I said earlier, clothes that emphasize the body, emphasize the cleavage, emphasize the sexy parts of her, essentially sexualizing her. You go look at magazines, and you look on the cover. Same thing's happening. Except they're not really wearing that much clothes, emphasizing the skin, how much skin they're showing. On the cover of these magazines, it says things like, 10 tips to look sexier. 10 tips to make a guy want you. They're putting this pressure, they're putting this standard on you. The standard of saying, this is what you should look like. This is how you should present yourself. This is what we want you to look like. And that's why we're giving you tips. Even car shows, they're just selling cars. But oftentimes in these shows, they have this model standing next to it. She's posing. She oftentimes is not wearing a lot of clothing. And they're pretty much exploiting the female form in order to market these products. It can even happen on social media. When you see the girls with the most likes, the most followers, the most comments, the most praise, oftentimes you see their posts involve them showing off their body in some way, showing skin, showing the sexy parts of them. And then these young girls who are in this age of social media, and these young girls who often are battling insecurities about themselves and what they look like, battling insecurities on meeting these standards that people set on them. They see these women that seem to have what they want, these followers, these likes, this acceptance by society. They see this, And they're like, maybe if I post something like that, if I post something that shows off me a little more, maybe I'll get the attention they have. Maybe I'll get the more likes they have, and maybe I'll be happier with myself. Even in a woman's daily life, can you see this issue? It's not uncommon for a woman to hear comments like, hey, I think you should lose a little weight, because if you lose a little weight, you look more appealing. Or, hey, I think you should wear a little more makeup, because if you wore a little more makeup, you'd look a little more presentable. Or, hey, maybe you should start smiling a little more, because, if you smile a little more, people would like you, and people would want to talk to you. Essentially what this is people putting their standards on you. Their standards of how a woman should look. Their standards of what an appealing woman in society would look like. And it puts pressure on these women to meet these standards, to I guess, meet them and fulfill them. What we must do in order to change this is we must change our behavior, change what we deem as acceptable behavior. We must stop we need to stop having advertisers, pictures, sexualize women in such a way because it emphasizes the parts that are deemed sexy, as I said earlier. We need to market clothing for what it is, just clothing. We don't need to put them in places where they shouldn't be or don't need to be. We need to condone behavior from people, judging people's appearance, condoning the behavior that's saying it's not okay to make comments like that. Because in the end, a woman should be allowed to wear what she wants, express herself however she wants, and not have this pressure to look a certain way because everyone tells her to. And we must encourage women while they grow up, while they face these insecurities growing up as a teenager or even younger. We encourage them to look into themselves, find themselves, understand what they want to be, and allow them to express themselves through their physical appearance. Not forcing them to conform, not pressuring them to look this sexy. You may be thinking, why, I don't do that. I don't catcall people. I don't say things like that to women. And that's good. I'm proud that you don't do that. But the issue is not you. The issue is the people who do that. And it is everyone's responsibility to hold these people who think it's okay to act like that accountable for their actions. Because if we don't, society is going to keep going down this path where women will be more and more sexualized and objectified in media and everywhere in life. Thank you.